just wanted us to just work stuff out and just be like it used to be.
Valerie Fairman's episode of 16 and Pregnant was one of the most popular episodes of the show, but things took a heartbreaking turn when she tragically passed away just a few years later. When Valerie's episode first aired on MTV in 2010, she unintentionally started a trend because of her baby's name. She had named her daughter Nevaeh, which is heaven spelled backwards. Valerie wanted so badly to give Nevaeh the family and lifestyle she never had. But what happened after the camera stopped rolling was absolutely devastating. In early 2011, Valerie was filmed again by MTV for the Where They Are Now catch-up episode. Astonishingly, she and her baby daddy, Matt Price, had decided to get back together, but Valerie's dream of raising Nevaeh with him would soon turn into a total nightmare. Not long after filming wrapped, the couple called it quits again. At the time, people were still hoping to see Valerie on Teen Mom 2, but there were a couple of possible reasons why she hadn't been chosen for the spin-off series, and they're truly bizarre. Valerie most likely wasn't chosen to be a cast member for Teen Mom 2 because of how she managed to appear on 16 and Pregnant. It turns out that she had applied to be on the show behind her parents' backs. What her mom, Janice, revealed to the Daily Mail in 2016 was so crazy. Janice claimed that she and her husband Gary had no idea that Valerie had signed up to be on the reality show. They allegedly didn't find out until the 16 and Pregnant camera crew was on the way to their Pennsylvania home to start filming. It doesn't sound like Janice or Gary would have given Valerie permission to apply in the first place, so it's safe to say that they probably wouldn't have allowed her to be on Teen Mom 2. But there's another potential reason why MTV didn't choose Valerie for the series, and it's pretty insane. In April 2011, Valerie was arrested for physically harming her mom during a disagreement. Janice was badly injured from the incident, and part of her back had even been broken. What happened next was seriously intense. Valerie was 17 at the time, so she was held at a juvenile detention center for a couple of weeks. She was charged for attacking her mom and then spent a brief period of time on house arrest. That must have been a nerve-wracking recipe for disaster. Valerie was court-ordered to stay home, but she was still living with her parents at the time. She turned 18 later that year, and that was when her life really started to spiral. Valerie moved out of her parents' house when she was 18, but she didn't take Nevaeh with her. Looking back at what we know now, that was probably for the best, especially considering what happened shortly after. This is absolutely unreal. In 2012, Valerie had another run-in with the law. She was arrested and reportedly charged with multiple misdemeanors and felonies, including theft and receiving stolen property. At Valerie's court hearing, she was given an unexpected jail sentence. Shockingly, Valerie was only ordered to spend 52 days behind bars. She was put on probation for quite a while, which wasn't too surprising, but the decision she allegedly made after getting out of jail was honestly startling. According to the Ashley's Reality Roundup, sources close to Valerie claimed that she checked herself into a rehab facility. She had supposedly been struggling with substance use issues for a while and knew that she needed professional help. I think a lot of people were in disbelief when they learned about Valerie checking herself into a rehab center, but it seemed like everyone was rooting for her and hoping for the best. Not long after Valerie left the facility, she started dating someone totally unexpected. Valerie's new relationship was with a man named David Price. After many of her Twitter followers pointed out that he had the same last name as Matt, the bizarre truth was revealed. Believe it or not, David was the uncle of Valerie's ex-boyfriend and baby daddy. Nevaeh was actually his great niece, but at the time, Valerie didn't have much contact with her daughter for a couple of unbelievable reasons. Ever since Valerie moved out of the house, her parents had been raising Nevaeh. Janice and Gary allegedly had full custody of their daughter at that point because of Valerie's criminal record and substance use. But there was a mind-boggling detail that seriously complicated the situation. After Valerie's physical incident with her mom, Janice and Gary supposedly didn't allow her to visit Nevaeh at the house for a while. That eventually changed, but Valerie was only stopping by to see her daughter once or twice a month. At around the same time, she made an astonishing connection with someone from her past. Valerie's biological mom, Beth Shepard, had seen her daughter's 16 and Pregnant episode and decided to reach out. She had lost all parental rights when Valerie was only a few years old. Unfortunately, Beth and Valerie had remarkably similar struggles. Beth's past troubles with substance use had resulted in her losing custody of all of her kids. She was finally successful in her sobriety journey years later, but because of Beth's previous experience with substances, she could tell Valerie was on an insanely dark path. Beth told the Daily Mail in 2016 that she knew that Valerie was battling serious substance use issues. She claimed that she tried multiple times to get her help, and it sounds like Valerie really wanted to be healthy too. Apparently, Valerie had checked herself into a couple of different different rehab facilities. Unfortunately, she fell back into her harmful habits each time she was released. But in 2014, Valerie was faced with a crazy wake-up call. David allegedly broke up with Valerie because she reportedly almost burned his house down while under the influence of substances. But he wanted her to get help, which was why he decided to do something very drastic. David supposedly called Valerie's parole officer and informed them of what had just happened. Not staying sober was a violation of her probation, which meant that her life was about to seriously change. A warrant was issued for Valerie's arrest, and she was sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison. But what happened next was incredibly surprising. Valerie was released after serving less than 2 months of her prison sentence, but once again, she quickly got involved with the wrong crowd, and that was how she ended up being arrested again. But this time, she was charged with an unthinkable crime. In February 2015, Valerie was booked for allegedly trying to sell illegal and super inappropriate services to an undercover police officer. She spent a few weeks behind bars before being released, and her probation was also extended. Thankfully, Valerie wasted no time after getting out of jail. She decided to check herself into a different rehab center in an attempt to tackle her substance use issues once and for all. But after she left the facility, she turned her focus from sobriety to a new man. Sadly, Valerie's next boyfriend, Russ Bosey, also struggled with substance use. They supposedly both wanted to get their lives back on track, but before long, Valerie was back in a place she knew all too well. In December 2015, Valerie spent another few weeks in jail. She had reportedly violated her probation again by continuing not to pay her original legal fees from 2012, but it sounds like the court finally came to a much-needed realization. Valerie clearly needed as much professional help fighting her substance dependency as she could get. She was court-ordered to attend a treatment facility, which was her 5th stint in almost 5 years. Not long after Valerie was released from the rehab center, she fell back into one of her devastating patterns. She was arrested again in December 2016 and charged with giving false identification to police and resisting arrest. Unsurprisingly, Valerie was quickly released from jail. Her court hearing was set for the beginning of January. She was allegedly more determined than ever to kick her substance use, and she wasn't going to be fighting alone this time. According to Hollywood Life, Valerie's boyfriend Russ was taking steps to be sober as well. His sister Alicia told the outlet that he had recently checked himself into a rehab center, but that wasn't all she revealed. Alicia claimed that Russ and Valerie were actually engaged. It sounds like they both desperately wanted to live a happy, healthy life together, but unfortunately, that wouldn't be possible. While Russ was still in rehab, Valerie unexpectedly passed away. On December 21st, 2016, her life tragically ended after she consumed multiple illegal substances. Valerie's passing was seriously heartbreaking for so many people, but I think everyone was wondering how Nevaeh was handling the terrible news. One day after Valerie's untimely passing, Janice spoke to the Daily Mail. She admitted that the whole family was shocked because Valerie had actually seemed to be doing better than she had in a long time. Janice made it clear that she blamed 16 and pregnant for what happened to her daughter. She added that after Valerie appeared on the show, it went to her ego and she felt like she could do whatever she wanted. And it turns out that she wasn't the only one who thought that. Beth also believed that her biological daughter's life had been negatively affected by her MTV appearance. She and Janice both said that Valerie would still be alive if it weren't for her time on the show. As for Nevaeh, she was supposedly holding up extraordinarily well. Janice claimed that Nevaeh, who was 7 years old at the time, was sad that her mom had passed away, but apparently she hadn't seen Valerie super regularly and nothing about her daily routine had changed. Nevaeh was still living with Janice and Gary in the same house we saw in 16 and Pregnant. Janice said that her granddaughter still wanted to go to school the day she learned about her mom's passing. Thankfully, Nevaeh had a lot of family around to support her if she needed it. She even had a family member in her life that was pretty unexpected. Janice revealed that Matt had been struggling with personal issues too, but he was still in his daughter's life, and he had been regularly visiting Nevaeh every Saturday for a while. Janice has kept Nevaeh out of the public eye and seemingly off the internet as much as possible in recent years. The last update she gave was to Radar Online in 2018, and it was basically as positive as it could be. Janice said that Nevaeh was keeping Valerie's memory alive by wearing a necklace that contained some of her cremated remains. Matt was still visiting his daughter consistently, although Janice and Gary still had full custody of her. Janice claimed that Nevaeh was doing really well in school at the time and seemed to be thriving overall. At the end of the interview, Janice revealed revealed her biggest hope regarding Valerie's memory. She hoped that people would remember her as a loving, caring person and not for her criminal record and MTV drama. It's hard to believe that in September, Nevaeh will be turning 14 years old. It's terrible that she won't get the chance to get to know her mom in the future, but it's amazing that she's been surrounded by so much love and support throughout her life. Anyway, now that we've gotten into the terrible, sad story of Valerie's life and passing, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on everything that Valerie went through after MTV stopped filming? What do you think about Janice and Beth blaming 16 and Pregnant for Valerie's passing? Let me know in the comments below.